Wherever teachers go when they leave the room, I still don't know where they go, but she left. And my best friend Jimmy stands up and points at me. He says, Richard, hey, dude, go draw the homework assignment. Mrs. Wilmore would get to school on Monday. She would write out every math problem ever created on her chalkboard. Problem after problem. And it was our jobs to turn in on Friday all of the answers. When Jimmy said that for me to go draw the homework, I thought to myself, what a great idea. I'll go draw the homework and I'll be like some class hero. Plus I don't have to do the homework. And I went up to that chalkboard, grabbed that chalk and began to draw just as fast as I could. Jimmy stood over here. He'd press his back up against the wall. He could look out a little window that was in the door to tell me when Mrs. Wilmore was going to come back. He'd be laughing. He'd be watching. He'd be doing more laughing than he was watching. A few minutes later, he yells, she's coming! She's coming, Mrs. Wilmore! She's coming! Jimmy took his seat. I finished my little masterpiece and slide into my chair where I always sit, right there. Mrs. Wilmore walked in the room. She walked across that hardwood floor and she got about halfway and she stopped and she turned. Some of my friends kept looking at me. I kept looking back at them going, stop looking at me, man. You know I did it. Stop it. And she'd just sit there and look. She'd walk over to her big table with all the books and her pencils on it and she sat down at it. She didn't say a word, not a word, until the bell rang. When the bell rang, Mrs. Wilmore quickly stands up. She comes over. She says, students, we're going to do something a little different today. I'm going to stand over here by the door. I'm going to stand over here by the door. And as you exit this room, I want you to walk by and I want to see the palms of your hands. Oh, shoot. You know who the first person out of that room was? Jimmy. I haven't seen him since. You know the last person out of that room was me, because I didn't want to embarrass myself in front of my classmates. And I walked by Mrs. Wilmore. She saw that dirtiness, that remnant of the chalk on my hands, and she just looks at me and she says, just go on, Richard. Just go. Go. I walked out in the hall. A half a dozen of my friends surround me. They come up. They surround me. They go, man, what'd she say? What'd she say, man? What did Ms. Wilmore say about you drawing over the homework assignment? I said, man, she didn't say nothing. She didn't say nothing, man. I got away with it. Another friend said, oh, Richard, you're going to get it tomorrow, buddy. Oh, that next day, when tomorrow came, I was afraid to go into class because I didn't know what was going to happen. But there, I sat there, and I looked up, and my drawing had been erased. And every one of those and every one of those math problems were right back up there again. But Mrs. Wilmore didn't say anything. She didn't say anything that day or the next week. Nothing was said about me drawing over the homework. Nothing. Except about 3 weeks later. And it was like an instant replay. It was funny. Mrs. Wilmore gets up. She says, students, I want you to sit there, be quiet, don't bother nobody, and I'll be back in a few minutes. And she left the room again. And once again, Jimmy stands up and says, hey, Richard, dude, go draw over the homework. I said, if I got away with it once, I'll get away with it again. And I went up to that chalkboard, and about 10 feet away, I stopped dead in my tracks because I couldn't believe it. Because there, on the bottom of that chalkboard, were 24 different colors of chalks. Every color of the rainbow plus some. Oh, happy day. Oh, you talking about happy. You talking about Christmas, birthday, Easter, Hanukkah, everything else. I grabbed that chalk in both hands and I began to dance. Woo! Yeah, babe. Got it going on. Be drawing. Yeah. To the top, to the bottom, to side to side. I be drawing my picture. Yeah. It started to work for me. Because at that very moment, I found out what my strengths were. I found out what my talents were. I didn't have to be compared to nobody. Something, I was in my zone, yeah, working it, baby. Jimmy just over there laughing at me. But something magical was happening inside. A few moments later, Jimmy yells, "Hey, she's coming, Mrs. Wilmore, she's coming!" I put my finishing touches on my masterpiece, and I slid into my chair where I always sit. Mrs. Wilmore walks in that room. She gets about right here on the 50-yard line. She stops and she turns and she looks. She turns and she looks me in the eye. She doesn't say a word, but I knew what she was thinking. She's saying, "Good job, boy. Don't do it again, but good job." And I never drew another picture in Mrs. Wilmore's class ever. Ever! I drew an English class. I like Mrs. Wilmore. But it was that moment that I found what my gifts are, my talent, my ability. Oh, listen, I could tell you a lot of things that I'm not. Oh, the list could go on. But I began to get focused on what I could do. Do you know what your gifts are? If you're going to be a leader, you have to lead in the area of your giftings. Lead in the area of your giftings, your talents. Get focused on what your gifts are and then serve. May that be the spearhead. Serve in the area of your giftings. It was some 20-something years later, after school, that I was to ever see Mrs. Wilmore. My artwork was hanging in a number of different places, and I go back to my hometown. I was living in Chicago. But I see Mrs. Wilmore at a grocery store in Shawnee, Oklahoma. There I was. My mama had asked me to run to the grocery store because after church on Sunday we were going to have this big fancy dinner. And so at the grocery store I was over there standing next to a cucumber. And I hear my name. Richard Hight, is that you? Cold chills ran down my back. Because I recognized that voice. That was Mrs. Wilmore. See, I thought Mrs. Wilmore had passed away a few years ago. See, she was old when I was in junior high. She must have been at least 30. And I turned, and there she was. Huh. Miss Wilmore? Hey! How are you doing? Hey, are you still teaching? Oh, no, Richard. I retired a few years ago. My health just not what it used to be. Hey, Richard. Still drawing those pictures, aren't you? Yes, ma'am. Hey, son, I don't know if you ever knew this, but remember when you drew that picture in my room? I drew a lot of pictures in your room, Miss Wilmore. Hey, when I left that room that day, I walked out that door and I walked down the hallway. And I walked outside, walked around the old gym. Remember the old gym, Richard? Yes, ma'am. I walked through the staff parking lot, made my way over to the last window in my room. And I was watching you draw all the time. I said, you were there? You were there all the time? Did you see me dancing, Mrs. Wilmore? You see me dancing? Did you see me dancing? You know what that old lady said to me? She pulled me down. She says, you got a talent, son. You're no good at math. I said, I'm still not Mrs. Wilmore. Thank you for reminding me. But she helped me find my gifts, find your talents, and get focused.